It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're fixing to have us a good day. Bring it up.
Yes. Welcome on in to Locked On Auburn. Zach Blackerby, Michael Pappas here with you. I meant to text you yesterday. Happy Mother's Day, dude.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day to all the folks, all the moms who listen. We really appreciate you, and I hope you had a special day. So coming up on today's show, we got some football news, got some words from Alan Green that I want to talk about, and a new segment idea that I just want to try. One of those things where we just throw it against the wall, see if it sticks or not. So we'll touch on that in a few minutes. But first things first, let's give a shout out to our boy Derrick Brown. The boy got paid. 7th pick overall by the Carolina Panthers. 4-year deal, fully guaranteed, $23.621 million.
Obviously, it's a lot of money, but here the most important thing to me about the contract is that it's fully guaranteed. I mean that shows you really how much the Panthers believe in Derrick Brown, that they really think he's going to be there for 4 years, and he's going to be, a stalwart of that defensive line for a while. Stalwart of their defensive line for a while. And so that is the important part to me. I mean, most of these contracts for first-round guys are pretty standardized at this point, but that fully guaranteed is huge.
I agree. And just keeping it in the NFL, Cam Newton said he'd be open to being a backup. Obviously wants to start, but he is open to taking a backup role. That's something I just can't see Cam. And you and I have been spending a lot of time working on this 2010 documentary that'll come out soon. But I just can't see that dynamic of a player. And then what he did in his NFL MVP season is just like that guy being a backup, and then the personality side of it as well. It's like I don't know if I'd bring him in to be a backup, if I'm being honest.
I wouldn't. I couldn't.
It's not worth it.
I couldn't imagine having a guy who's that competitive and that much of that great of a leader, and he's, such a happy, jovial guy. He's got an iconic smile. Like, how many people out there can you really say they have an iconic smile?
Sure.
And I mean, if I was a starting quarterback and my team brought in Cam Newton to be the backup, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to be the starter for very long.
Yeah.
It's just, he's the kind of guy that people gravitate to. You can't help but when you're around him, and you can't help but, and he's an uber competitive guy who maybe he's open to being a backup because he believes that anywhere who brings him in as a backup, he'll be able to win the starting job.
It's wild. If you would have told me 2 years ago that Auburn's most likely starter going into this season is Jarrett Stidham, not Cam Newton, I would have laughed at you.
I would have been shocked.
It certainly seems like that's the case, though, right? I mean, at this point, unless Cam does the waiting game and it's like somebody will get hurt, I'll be here when you need me.
Yeah, and we don't know what's going to happen with mini camp and training camp and everything else, and it always seems like there's some big name player that gets injured before the season even starts, and so maybe that could be a quarterback this season, and maybe it's Cam that they call on. Who knows? But man, it's a very odd situation for sure.
Hey, we have 2 new partners on the Locked On Auburn podcast that are making their partnership debut with us today.
It's a huge day today.
It is a big day. It's a good day to have a good day. You know what I'm saying?
It's a good day to have a good day.
First thing, I want to give a nod to our friends at Frisky Whiskey. Huge variety of liquor, hundreds of bottles of wine, large selection of local and domestic craft beer, 10,000 square foot liquor store. It's one of the largest in Georgia, just a 30-minute drive from Auburn, and it's extremely, the deals you get are top notch because they're able to do different things with taxes and stuff like that. There's virtually no tax at all.
Yep. Much bigger, it's much bigger selection and better prices. I don't really know what else you could ask for out of a liquor store.
Absolutely. So one-stop shop for liquor, beer, wine, tobacco, and lottery tickets.
Underrated part there, the lottery.
Yeah, no doubt about
it.
Underrated for sure. Located off of Exit 2 on I-85 in West Point, Georgia. Just follow the billboard. So thank you so much to Frisky Whiskey. Also, our friends at Shady Rays, they are making the best shades to live active and worry-free in the outdoors. So their shades feature shadow-resistant, high-visibility polarized lenses with durable construction that they stand with for free replacements if lost or broken. Yeah, I mean, if you get a shade or if you get a pair of Shady Rays sunglasses and something happens to them, they will replace it, which is awesome for me. I lose my shades all the time. I break my shades all the time. Now with Shady Rays, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, my parents have a lake house. Whenever I go out there, I use at least one or two pairs of sunglasses. So it's Shady Rays could not be better about it.
Yeah, so visit ShadyRays.com. Use promo code Auburn for 25% off your order. That's a big chunk. That's at ShadyRays.com. Use promo code Auburn for 25% off your order.
Hi, this is David Locke, the CEO of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'd like to take a moment to talk to our local business owners that are tuned into this podcast. At the Locked On Podcast Network, we want to see if we can do something to help you out in these difficult times. Here's what we'd like to do. We are going to drop all of our advertising rates on our local podcasts for local business owners half price. And in addition, we're going to take 10% of all of that revenue and donate it to the charity Frontline Foods. Frontline Foods takes money and sends it to local restaurants who are feeding frontline workers. Right now, those are the hospital workers. So again, local businesses, we're offering half price advertising on our local podcast. We'll donate 10% of that revenue to Frontline Foods. If you are interested and this will help you out, please text advertising to 33777. Text advertising to 33777 or go to lockedonpodcast.com/advertising. Stay safe, stay socially distanced, and thank you very much for tuning into the Locked On Podcast Network.
Locked On NFL is the #1 daily NFL podcast with Brian Peacock and scout Matt Williamson. Locked On NFL has no offseason, so after this podcast, listen to Locked On NFL.
All right, so Auburn University put out an article, or not an article, a video rather, with Alan Green. So he's standing at different places throughout campus. It's a really well-made video. The music's a little too loud in my opinion, but that's fine. But he gives a shout-out to the graduates, that would have graduated last weekend. Gave a shout-out to the folks on the front lines regarding the healthcare system and all of that. Then he talked about how his staff and coaches are the best coaches in the country, and they've been able to help fire up the staff and pop into meetings that they didn't necessarily have to, and all of that. And then he pulls out the creed, references, believe in the human touch, and there's different ways to touch human lives right now in this time of social distancing. Then he's kind of got to where we wanted him to get to. He said he doesn't know when we will play football, but said they'll be ready to have fans in Jordan-Hare Stadium when needed and when called upon. But every time I see Alan Green, I'm always impressed by the way he conducts himself, his composure, his posture, the swag, the presence that he emits. And I've been like, man, this is such an out-of-the-box hire, but to me, it seems like they really nailed it. And I think a lot of people feel that way, that they totally nailed it with Alan Green leading Auburn's athletics department. But we haven't seen him make a real hire yet as far as a big-time program.
He's made one hire or two.
So swimming.
He hired Gary Taylor, the swim and dive
volleyball,
coach. And then he just hired, the volleyball coach who came here from Southern California.
And then Lauren Spencer, who I always get her mixed up. I always get golf and tennis mixed up, where Lauren Spencer was. But she stepped away from coaching. She wanted to do something else. So, but he hasn't made a hire for a revenue generating sport. And so
Correct. I
think that's going to be interesting to see when he does. But for now, there's no controversy. Everybody loves him.
Yeah, that's true. And the I'm always impressed when I see him wear that royal blue suit that he owns. And every time I see pictures of him and stuff, he just always looks like such a put together and he looks right at home in the spotlight. I'm a big fan of Alan Green. Like you said, Zach, though, we haven't had to see him really do anything major. He hasn't made a whole bunch of major decisions that would kind of define a tenure as athletic director, if you will.
You're right.
And we were talking this morning, Auburn might not hire a coach in a revenue-generating sport for a decade. Like, Alan Green could be at Auburn for a decade without having to hire a coach in football, basketball, or baseball.
Well, surely, I mean, the odds of all three of them being here in 10 years, I mean, that's pretty small, right? But you think about it, and it's like...
How long has Alan Green been here? 3 years? 2 years?
Okay.
It's something like that, right?
That's your ballpark.
So we're looking at 7 or 8 years from now. Because I find it hard to believe any of those three guys, Gus Malzahn, Bruce Pearl, or Butch Thompson, are going to get hired away. So then you're really looking at, a catastrophic season for one of those guys to get fired, right?
Right.
Like, something major has to happen.
Yes.
And, I think as time goes on...
Is Gus here 10 years from now? I don't know. Is Bruce here 10 years from now? I think it's more likely. I think the most likely of the three to be here 10 years from now is Butch Thompson.
I don't know enough about the inner workings of college baseball and and professional baseball to know the likelihood of that. I mean, just being honest, I don't know how often guys get hired away and everything. I mean, unless I don't really know if Bruce Pearl would go anywhere unless he gets offered a real blue blood job.
Mm-hmm. But at that point, do you want to leave what you've built up? I don't know.
I don't either.
I mean, these guys seem to genuinely love Auburn.
Yeah.
Gus isn't going anywhere.
Yeah,
unless the Arkansas situation happens, that we get every few years. But I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. And even then, I mean, at this point, he's already spurned Arkansas, twice? How many more times is Arkansas going to let him use that bargaining chip?
I don't know. And how many times will Auburn bite? I don't know. But it's been interesting to see because, a lot of people were really upset with Mickey Dean and the softball program last year. That really underperformed. And a lot of people were really upset with women's basketball and Coach Flo last year. But then this pandemic happened, and it's I don't think now's the right time to make it a big decision like that and move. I mean, the whole women's basketball team, it seems like a big chunk of it, they've all entered the transfer portal. So, what's that look like moving forward? But do you just kind of take the bullet and say, all right, let's give her one more year. She's playing behind the 8 ball. Can she kind of turn it around when you're talking about Coach Flo? And then Mickey Dean, get another year to get your players in there, kind of inherited a program that was at the highest point it's ever been in a weird situation. We all knew that was not sustainable. So, what's the new realistic expectation for Auburn softball moving forward? But, should Alan Green have put his foot down and try to make a change then? Or was it okay, well...
But also, do you want to be the guy who fires coaches in the middle of the pandemic? Fires anyone in the middle of... Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't. You don't want to be the AD that does that.
Yeah. It's a...
And, would he have done it if the pandemic hadn't happened?
We don't know.
We never will know. Yeah. But there were definitely... I saw Auburn Twitter tweeting at him a lot. I know that doesn't mean anything. He's not going to be swayed because people tweeting at him, but... As an athletics director, you need to see, all right, are the fan bases for these sports, are they happy or not? Nobody's saying that about Graba when the team has an off meet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's important. That's important. And people go to gymnastics meets. People go to baseball games. People go to basketball games because they win. And when you see these smaller sports, it's been proven that at Auburn, if you win in some of these, you can get support. And so I think that's I just think that's something that's kind of interesting and that's something that's kind of worth looking at.
Yeah. And I know people are going to be upset with, us saying that Malzahn's not going anywhere because I know a lot of people are unhappy with him. But, I mean, he gets put in these top 15 and top 20 coaching rankings by people all over the country. He's won a national championship as an offensive coordinator, been to a national championship as a head coach. He's won the SEC West 3 times. Twice? 2013, 2017?
Yeah, twice.
I understand the frustration about some, but until Auburn is confident that they can go get someone better than Gus Malzahn.
That's always been my thing. Even when at his lowest points, who do you get that's better?
And you have to be sure that they're better.
Right.
A lot of people love to throw out the guy who FSU just hired from Memphis.
Okay.
And Mike Norvell.
Right.
And it's you don't know that he's better. He's been at Memphis. And, he's done well, but at Memphis. How many times have we seen guys go from Group of 5 to Power 5 and it just doesn't pan out?
You know what's something that I know is going to be good every single time?
What is?
Built Bar.
Absolutely. I was hoping you'd say that.
Absolutely right. Yeah, the amazing combination of low calorie, high protein, low sugar, no crazy additives, but it tastes delicious. If you compare Built Bar to the most popular men's bar, it's half the calories, 7 times fewer carbs, and 7 times fewer sugar grams and more protein. How can it be that good for you and taste so good? I don't know. It's funny. My mom caught up on a lot of our podcasts from the past few weeks, and we went over there for Mother's Day, and she sent me a text before we left. She's like, hey, do you have any Built Bars? Because I've been listening like crazy, and you guys have sold them. You've sold them to me. And I'm like, sure, I'll bring you some. And she had the banana nut bread flavored one. She absolutely loved it. She loved it. It made her Mother's Day better. And so you can get your own. How? BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKEDON to get $10 off your first box at BuiltBar.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON.
This is NFL Under Review, local experts on the biggest NFL stories.
This is Brian Peacock with your National Football League update from Locked On NFL. The regular season is scheduled to kick off Thursday night, September 10th, as defending champion Kansas City Chiefs host the Houston Texans, but the commish says, quote, we will be prepared to make adjustments as necessary, as we have during the offseason, in safely and efficiently conducting key activities such as free agency, the virtual offseason program, and the 2020 NFL Draft. One potential out early in the year is that every opponent in week 2 has the same bye week, so those games can be moved to later in the year, with week 1 games flipped to the end of the season. Goodell did not, though, elaborate on more drastic changes to the schedule if they are necessary. The league is currently operating as if all things will play out as currently scheduled, with training camp beginning in July.
For more NFL news, make sure you're subscribed to the Locked On NFL podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Aloha, this is Chad Ford, host of Chad Ford's NBA Big Board. I've been Peace Players' biggest fan over the past 15 years. Peace Players is a nonprofit that brings together young people in divided communities through the game of basketball. They, like so many other NGOs, are hurting in the wake of COVID-19. So we're kicking off the NBA Big Board Dangerous Love Peace Players campaign. I will be donating all of my profits to my new book, Dangerous Love, over the next 2 weeks if you pre-order the book at dangerouslovebook.com. Go to dangerouslovebook.com to help an important world-changing cause.
All right, man, we got a new segment idea.
I'm really happy for you that your mom listens to the show. I don't know what that's like.
That's so sad.
Yeah, that sounded sadder than it actually is. Every time I tell my parents that, we're doing something, and they're like, why? And I'm like, well, for Locked On Auburn. And they're like, what's that? I'm like...
We're doing this again? All right.
We've talked about this.
All right. I stole this segment idea from some Auburn pages doing it on Instagram, so I am not original here, but let's call this segment Start, Bench, Cut. All right, so I'm going to name 3 guys that played at Auburn at 3 different times, Michael Pappas. Mm-hmm. And I want you to walk me through your decision-making on if you had to start one, if you had to bench one, and you had to cut one, which one would it be? Obviously, they're all 3 going to be good players.
So am I supposed to base this on just their Auburn career or their whole football or basketball career? I don't know what the names are, but
let's go with they're all football. So let's go with Auburn career.
Okay.
They're Auburn prime. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Noah Benogany, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis. All 3 very good corners. 2 of them went in the second round of the draft. 1 of them went in the first round of the draft.
I would probably start Noah.
Wow.
Because of the kick return abilities. I think that gives him a slight edge.
Okay.
And then I would go with Carlton because
you're benching Carlton?
Yeah, I'm benching Carlton. I want him on the team, but I'm benching him, and then I'm going to cut the third guy.
Jamel Dean.
I think when Carlton was here, it was much more noticeable the impact that he had on the game. And then the last option is cut. I mean, obviously, I'd like to have Jamel Dean on. I think that I was
corner. Yeah,
I think that I was surprised that Jamel Dean was drafted in the second round. With Carlton and Noah, like you could tell the impact they were having on the game every week. I think a little more so than Jamel, and I was less. I was not surprised when either of those guys went where they went, and then I just think that Noah's abilities in the return game, I'll give him a slight edge over Carlton there, and so I'll start Noah for that reason.
All right, yeah, and let us know. Let us know if you agree with Michael. If you agree with me, I'll give mine in just a moment. You can tweet us on Twitter at Locked On Auburn and on Instagram at Auburn Podcast. I'm going to start Carlton Davis, bench Noah Benogany, and I'm going to cut Jamel Dean. Just because I think Jamel's the worst of the three. He's still obviously very, very good. That just shows how talented Auburn's been at developing corners over the past few years. But Noah's defensive front was a lot better than Carlton's was. And I think Noah statistically was better as far as what he gave up. But, the pass rush was just so much better.
I mean, Carlton was also like his whole defense that year.
Even as a freshman. I mean, he was like dominant his whole time. So, I mean, you talk about his whole Auburn career, I'm definitely taking Carlton. If you're taking them at their prime, I'm still probably taking Carlton Davis. All right. Ready for another one?
I think so. I don't think so, though, at the same time.
All right.
That was difficult.
These are running backs.
Okay, I'm not ready.
Trey
Bo
Mason.
Jackson.
No Bo Jackson. Trey Mason, Kerryon Johnson, Ben Tate. You got to start one, bench one, and cut one. Trey Mason, Kerryon Johnson, Ben Tate.
All right. I'm going to cut Ben Tate.
That's messed up. He's a friend of the program.
Here's why. We talk about this every once in a while.
Okay.
I did not actually watch Ben Tate play in an Auburn uniform.
Okay.
So but
you're a numbers guy, and you've seen how good Ben Tate's numbers are.
It's just, I'm sorry, and I know that
man.
he was like the whole offense that year also in 2009. Like I get that. I did not get to sit down on Saturdays and watch him play like I did the other two guys.
Okay.
And the other two guys were like, they played at Auburn during, key points in my life. I mean, one of them was while I was in school. One of them was the year before I came to Auburn. And so it was just, it's tough. I'm going to go.
All right, you're cutting Ben Tate.
I'm cutting Ben Tate. I'm going to start Kerryon Johnson because with Kerryon, I know that I can occasionally. First of all, I know I can run him as a Wildcat quarterback. Second of all, he can throw me a touchdown pass, baby. Kerryon's my starter. But I also do think there's a case to be made. Nothing against Kerryon Johnson, but he hasn't shown he can get through a full season healthy yet.
Sure, that's true. And, Trey Mason was a tank. So
yeah.
Not Tank Bigsby, but a tank. I think my answer is the same. I'm gonna start Kerryon, bench Trey Mason. I'm gonna cut Ben Tate.
Okay, well, that was boring.
Sorry. If you disagree with us, let us know. If you agree, let us know. Trey Mason, him getting 1,000 yards the year Auburn stunk was pretty incredible. It's like, could Kerryon have done that? I don't think so. It's like, that's pretty crazy. I'll switch it. I'll start Trey Mason, and I'll bench Kerryon.
I think that
I'll cut Ben Tate.
I think the injury thing is pretty big also.
Yeah, you're right. We've talked about the 2013 SEC championship with Missouri, a few weeks ago on a Throwback Thursday episode, and it's like that's when Trey was his best, and Kerryon wasn't available in his premier season. So, all right, then last one, some wide receivers. I think this is the toughest one. Sammy Coates, Darius Slayton, Seth Williams.
I'm cutting Darius Slayton.
What?
Without a doubt.
No way.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I've never seen someone drop more passes that hit him right in the hands than Darius Slayton. Now, Sammy Coates doesn't have the greatest hands in the world either.
I was about to say,
don't get me wrong. But Darius Slayton would be wide. I don't know if I'll ever forget against Tennessee. Either Tennessee or LSU. I don't know.
It was Tennessee.
I'm standing in the student section, and he's wide open, right in front of the student section. Jarrett Stidham puts a beautiful ball on him. It hits Darius in the hands, and I swear to you, Zach, his hands were up on his helmet before the ball hit the ground. It was like he knew that he was going to drop it before it got to him. And the thing about Sammy was that he would go and make these unreal catches with like one hand between two defenders at the goal line to score touchdowns, and then like drop, like a 5-yard in on the next play. And that never made sense to me either, but at least he would make the incredible catches. Darius Slayton, a good receiver. He just makes me so angry. So yeah, I'm going to cut him. And then I'm actually going to start Seth Williams. Okay. Because I think he's the receiver I can count on the most.
I'm starting Seth. I am benching Darius Slayton. I'm cutting Sammy Coates.
Yeah. You're wrong. I'm right, but it's fine.
The way you feel about Darius is the way I feel about Sammy. And it's just like, why didn't you catch these things? But yeah, there's 3 guys draped on you. You'll catch it.
Yeah, that was always frustrating. But
a lot of the time Sammy caught it. I was like, why was he the targeted guy?
Yeah.
Because like you were not open.
Yeah. Objectively speaking, you should not have caught that one. But the tunnel screen, that one you probably should catch.
All right, man. Where can people find you in here? Yeah. If you like this segment, start, bench, cut. Let us know. We can do some more of these. All right, promote yourself, bro. Promote yourself.
Follow
right
me
now
on Twitter at CouchPaptato. Also for the month of May, I'm going to be on Auburn Opelika this morning.
Yep, you're helping me out on my
News Talk
real
WANI.
Show. Yes.
98.7 FM, 1400 AM.
I love it.
One of the Auburn Network family of stations.
All right, that's promoted. You nailed that. You absolutely nailed that.
I don't have anything else in the room to read.
Okay,
so.
Sweet. All right. You can follow me on Twitter at ZBlackerby. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Auburn. Follow it on Instagram at Auburn Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow. This is Locked On Auburn.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.